Hi guys, welcome to our live webinar with Chris at First Business Rescue Limited. So one of the first questions that we were asked as a response via email, just give me a second, this is from Wrexham Chauffeurs. And the question is, Chris, if I borrowed enough money from the Bounceback loan, I'm a current business owner with Barclays Bank and have not yet applied for a loan already. Could I use the funds to buy an E-Class Merc as a business vehicle? The terms would be 2.5% interest on a 6-year with nothing to pay for the first 12 months. These are much better terms with the Mercedes. But if I did this and in time my limited company ceased trading, what would happen to the car? The finance is secured by the government and not secured against the car. So what would I do in that situation?
Okay, yeah, so it's really good question. So technically, there's no restrictions, there's not many restrictions on what you can use to use your Bounceback loan for. But obviously in your industry, a new E-Class Merc is likely to generate that customer more revenue. So it's a legitimate business expense. Obviously, yeah, of course you can use your Bounceback loan to buy that car. It would become an asset of that business. So down the line, if that business was to stop trading or it was to hit some financial difficulties, that it would be down as a business asset, which means it could be sold. There would be no restriction on somebody purchasing that vehicle for a fair price. But I think, yeah, it's such a generous scheme right now that it does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got Mercedes at 10%, but a Bounceback loan's 2.5%. I would caveat this as well, though. I'd ask your member, is it a necessity? Is it an absolute necessity? Because right now, the future is so uncertain, especially for your industry. You know, people aren't going out at the moment. Although I imagine that people are starting to see a spike now because people are using public transport less. So in answer to the question, yes, it could be bought. If they decided to stop trading, it would be down on your company accounts as an asset, and you could disperse of that asset. It could be sold to a third party for a fair and reasonable price. But again, when this money comes in, I'm advising all my clients, be very, very prudent. We don't know what the future holds, so be very, very prudent when that cash hits your bank. Does that answer the question okay for you, Dave?
It does, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you say is it a justifiable expense? Because again, within our trade, there is a massive push right now nationally for the clean air zones and for people to upgrade the vehicles, to get EU6 compliant vehicles, even to push onto electric vehicles in order to be exempt from the clean air zone charges. So it may well be that this is an ideal opportunity to upgrade the vehicle in order to meet that criteria. And as you quite rightly say, over the coming months, we don't know what's going to happen. So it may well be that you invest in the car, you put it on the road, and then the trade doesn't pick up as we all hope it will, and therefore you've not got the income. But at least using the loan, you've got a 12-month incubation period, haven't you, where you're not having to pay anything at all. Yes. So that does give you quite a good margin.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, let's dive into the specifics. What does a Mercedes cost? How much is the value of this vehicle we're talking about?
Well, he hasn't put any specifics on which one he's looking at, and obviously, the price of the vehicles vary hugely. Do you get an EU6 one? Do you get a hybrid one? Do you get electric one? In which case, the prices jump up massively anyway. And I think right now, where drivers or members may well have been in a position to buy the vehicles, there's that much uncertainty now. Are they in a position, especially given the huge lack of income to the trade, do they still have that surplus cash? And if they do have that surplus cash, they're better off keeping it to one side to protect themselves for the coming months, or indeed, longer if necessary.
I mean, that's the advice that I'm giving. There's they can't project their incomes. They can't project the level of work that's going to happen over even the next 12 months. And people have still got the bills to pay. So, yeah, I just think I'd think very long and hard about making big investments right now. Yeah, that'd be my advice.
Well, I think that's what they're all doing, but you've also got to bear in mind that it may well be that the existing vehicle they've got is about to come to term and needs replacing anyway. So if they don't replace the vehicle, regardless of whether the workload is there, they haven't got a vehicle to work with. So it's a very, very tricky balancing act within this trade as to, do you take the risk and buy it? Because if you don't, you're going to be out of work anyway. Do you take the risk and sit back and just hope that you can ride through the storm and have the funds there to then replace the vehicle once, luckily a lot of local authorities are giving extensions to plates that are expiring. It might be 3 months, it might be 6 months. So they are giving you that little bit of extra time. Most of them. There are some that aren't. And those that aren't, with all due respect, should hang their heads in shame. The trade needs as much support as everybody else in the country right now. And for that reason, those that are supporting the trade, they should be applauded and congratulated for that level of support. But yeah, it is a very fine balancing act, because you've got timescales and age limits of vehicles and new conditions that are coming in. So there's got to be that level of investment.
I think. Yeah, I mean, if a vehicle's coming to term and they need to make a decision, and in not doing so is going to essentially end their business anyway, then I suppose that is a different circumstance, and everybody's circumstances are a little bit different. So I'm just coming from a general point of view. A friend of mine asked me, can I buy a new van with the Bounceback loan? And again, if that investment is going to generate you money and give you security over the short and medium term, then absolutely. But if it's a purchase on a whim, then you don't necessarily need it. I just think long and hard about what you spend this money on, because again, the future's so uncertain. However, there's some challenges for your industry specifically, Dave, but I think there's also a lot of opportunity, because we're being advised not to use public transport right now, which means, by that statement that's coming out from the government, that there is also opportunity in these challenging times for your members. So I think that'd be my answer. If you need one and you need a car right now and your other's coming to term, then of course look at it. If you don't need one, I'd be sitting on your hands a little bit for a couple of months. And like you said, the Bounceback loan, it's very generous. It's 2.5%. There is no security needed, which is massive. Because we don't know what's happening down the line. But if God forbid that you had to shut your business, you would not be pursued for the loan. And there's also there's no payments till month 13 as well, which I think is also helpful. Because hopefully 13 months from now, we will start to see and understand what the new world is that we live in.
I was just going to say the new normal, yeah.
Yeah, the new normal.
Yeah, I mean, they're both very positive spins on it. Number one, it's unsecured. Number two, it's on at 2.5%, which is the lowest rate we've ever seen. And of course, number three, you're not paying until 13 months, until month 13. So it does give you that clout. I think we need to be very careful how we interpret, or how we expect the public to interpret the avoidance of public transport, because the taxi and private hire industry, of course, is part of the public transport infrastructure. So on the one hand, they could interpret that as don't use us. On the other hand, they could interpret that as buses, taxis and coaches. in which case they're going to use us more. And that's one of the reasons why we're pushing for the things like the security screens, you know, the protection screens, and of course the PPE face masks, and all of which are, of course, are business expenses. You know, if you get it, then you're covering your business, and you're putting things in place and they could claim off the tax. Which brings us on to the other major topic, which is being seen right through WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups, because the self-employed income support scheme that's based on 80% of your net profit, that went live this morning, did it not?
It did, yeah. The portal is now open for applications.
Okay.
To varying degrees of success.
I was just going to say there's quite a few messages within the groups that they're struggling to get on the portal. They've got to do this, they've got to do that, they've got to do the other. So could you run through the basics on that and try to explain, you know, can it be done, does it have to be done by the individual themselves, or can their accountant do it? What details do they need to in order to register, and what kind of response are they going to get?
Okay, well, I can answer some of those questions.
Okay.
Some of them that, you know, we just don't have that information now. So what you're going to need, okay, you're going to need your UTR number, okay, your self-assessment unique taxpayer reference. You're going to need your national insurance number. You're going to need a government gateway user ID and password. And you're going to need your UK bank details, bank account number, sort code, name on the account, and the address linked to your account. Now, here's a big one is you've got to make this claim yourself. Your tax agent or your accountant can't do it. You need to make this claim yourself. So the portal is now open. I have spoken to one or two people that have had a couple of issues today. Equally, I've had text message and WhatsApp to say that it's gone smoothly. So that's the information that you're going to need. The portal is now open. I don't know if you could drop that in your comments to your viewers, Dave.
Yeah.
And it should be it's a relatively simple process. I think we've also got to be mindful that everything's new. You know, systems do break. There are glitches. Over the past week, a lot of the inbound inquiries we've been getting are around Bounceback loans, where people have applied and they've not heard anything back. Now, and there's no consistency either with the banks. I will come back on point, but I want to get this out. So I had one client who's with Santander who applied and he received his loan 48 hours later. This same client had another bank account with Santander and he still hasn't received the loan, a week later. So I got him to ring Santander yesterday. He spent an hour on the phone getting through to somebody and they've just got a backlog. They said, yeah, there's no notes on the system. You've signed your loan document. So I know that the self-employed are the last people to have been the last people to have got this money. So I think the advice is please be patient and keep trying. Keep trying. That there's it's a really simple guidance on the .gov website, and if we could add that into the comments as well, Dave, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay, so you referred then to the loan. Were you back on the Bounceback loan then?
Yeah, I was just making the point that these systems are brand new and they are taking a little bit of time. I think credit has got to be given to, the governments and the banks for getting these systems in place, and they are working, albeit not 100% perfect. People won't be forgotten about. As long as you've got the information that we just mentioned. And just to go through that again, a UTR, if you don't know it off the top of your head, your accountant will have it. National insurance number, government gateway ID and password. Again, if you don't have one, you can create one online. And your bank account number, sort code and name on the account. So that's what they need to apply for the grant.
And what do they do if they haven't got a gateway?
They'll have to follow the guidance online. Type in I don't have a type in it. Bear with me. I'll just see if I've got it on my notes. Yeah, you can actually create a government gateway user ID and password when you make your claim.
Okay. Right. So on there. So let me just make sure I've got this right. You'll need your UTR number, your unit tax reference number, your national insurance number, your bank details connected to your HMRC account, and a government gateway. Yeah.
No, so the bank details. No, you just any bank details. They don't necessarily need to be connected to your HMRC account. Bank account, sort code, name on account, and the address that bank account is linked to.
Okay, so just bank account details then, not the ones connected to the HMRC group. Okay, edited that. Super. One other thing, I mean, just coming back briefly to the Bounceback loans as well. One thing I noticed, because of course I'm a limited business, I applied for it. A lot of the questions that are coming through are, does it have to be a business account that you're applying for the loan for? And the other one is, of course, the income that you're declaring as being your turnover. That can be based on a self-assessment. So I think people need to be really careful on that they don't overestimate. Is there going to be kickbacks as far as HMRC and VAT is concerned? If you say, for example, my turnover was £250,000, but you already declared 82,000, is it going to be penalised for that?
Well, I think you're suggesting people will be committing fraud there. So I don't believe that would. I think people need to be very careful.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So could you just give me those questions again, Dave, just so I understand them?
Okay. So for the Bounceback loan, I mean, I know we're coming back to the Bounceback loan, but for the Bounceback loan, they're asking for your first name, your last name, your email address, the business account name, as it's on the bank account. And invariably, it seems to be that you need to have a business account connected to that business in order to apply. But when it comes to the income and the amount you want to borrow, they ask you for your net profits for the year 2019. But it says.
Can I just stop you there, Dave? I've not seen that, and I've had. So as I understand this, now we've got to remember, it's First Business Rescue. We specialise in limited companies. We protect, rescue, and recover limited companies. So that's where our expertise is, and we've been advising many clients over these past few days about Bounceback loans. So when you're a limited company, generally you will have a limited company. You'll have a limited company bank account, and what you do is, I'll go back to the Santander. Santander, you put in your company details, and they ask about turnover. So if you was a business that was established last year, they want your turnover from the 1st of January 2019 to the 31st of December 2019. Now, at the moment, people are self-certifying this turnover, okay?
Yeah.
Which I do think is open to abuse. But I also think that if you're applying with your bank, so the client who's with Santander know what you turn over because they have your bank statements. So that's what we know to be true. And you can borrow 25% of your turnover capped at £50,000. And it is a very, very simple and straightforward process. Now, I would never advise anybody to purposefully declare something that wasn't true, because I think at some stage, I mean, it's wrong.
Going to come back and bite you.
Of course, and the businesses that I know that where a Bounceback loan is going to make a big difference are fairly small businesses. Okay, £50,000 not an insignificant sum, but if you're a multi-million-pound business, it may be a week or two's running costs. So this is aimed specifically at smaller businesses. So be truthful, make your application, and if you've not heard from the banks, And this is what happened to our client yesterday. We said, pick the phone up. You know, he spent an hour on the phone, but I know he slept better last night because he knows that the loan has been approved. Now, the other question, does that answer that part of the question, Dave?
Yeah, because I think it was very important to point out that people need to be accurate, you know, because all right, it's funding, but it's not free money. People do need to be careful. They need to be honest and truthful, like you say. You know, but if you need the funds, you need the funds.
Dave, listen, I've got a message for everybody, and
Yeah.
I'll tell this to everybody. The reason the government have put it on my belief, we are heading into the most uncertain and volatile economic times probably in the history of man. You know, I don't want to sound, I don't want to exaggerate this, but every business that has been affected by COVID-19, every single business of a certain size, you know, I'm really talking to the smaller businesses, they must, listen, they need to apply for this. You know, I have people still messaging me going, should I, shouldn't I? Nobody knows what the future holds. And especially in your industry, where there's not enormous amount of support for the self-employed, which we're going to come on to today. But get your application in now. I cannot stress this enough. And I'm a positive person. You know, I'm not one of those scaremongers. But we don't know what the future holds. Your business doesn't know what we don't know what the future is going to bring for your business. And as long as you was not an undertaking in difficulty in December 2019, you wasn't involved in any insolvency proceedings, you need to apply for this money. Now, I want to put it out to your members there as well, because I've had a lot of inquiries this week about that term, an undertaking in difficulty during 2019. Okay. Yep. If any of your members want a discreet, confidential chat about that, those that aren't sure, was I a undertaking in difficulty in December 2019, I'd like them to reach out to me and I will have a confidential chat and give you some good advice and answer, because every business is a little bit different. But let's say you had HMRC arrears, let's say you had debts building up in your business, you need to get some advice on that early. So again, you know, please reach out and we'll do our best. We'll do our best for you. But please get applying for your bounce back loan. Yeah, anybody that hasn't done so far, you know why? This is a great scheme. Every business in the UK needs support right now. The economy has been decimated, and we don't know when, if ever, our industry is going to return back to normal. So please get the advice, apply for that. If you have any debt advice, you have any debt questions, I can assist you with that.
So just to clarify, the term you used there, undertaking in difficulty. So that means that you're at risk, vaguely means that you're at risk of or in the process of insolvency, yeah? They're a business in trouble, basically.
Yeah, but it's quite hard to define this stage specifically, because you know, one of the terms that we define in insolvency is you can't meet your debts when they fall due.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, you may have you know, supplier arrears, HMRC arrears from last year, bank arrears, investor arrears. If your business, so I did a live this morning on Facebook, and it was around, okay, you've got your cash, what are you going to do now? People today are coming back into work for the first time, and a lot of them for the first time in a couple of months. So any business has creditors who it owes money to, and it has debtors who owes them money. And I think we all need to do this this exercise, is go through who owes you money. Are you going to get that money in? And in what time scale? And then, who do you owe money to? Okay, if you owe HMRC arrears, you know, you might owe VAT, you might owe corporation tax, you may owe, there's a number of HMRC arrears that you owe. You might owe business rates from last year, you might owe the banks, you might be defaulting on loans. So on every single circumstance is different.
Yeah.
And for those that are unsure about that question, I don't want to give general information on this, Dave, because I think it's really dangerous. And I want to give your members the best advice tailored to them. So if they have that question, listen, lots of businesses are in debt.
Yeah.
You know, there are good businesses that are in debt, that have debts. If they're unsure of that definition and they have business debts, I want them to speak to me personally, and I will go through their situation and give them a diagnosis based on their specific information. But so again, they'll all have my contact details at the end of this, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So anybody that's struggling, I mean, like you say, everybody has debt to a certain degree, but I think in light of what's going on right now, there's a lot more people that are going to find themselves in debt that might not have before. So as you quite rightly say, the loan's available, go and get it. Even if it's only to provide you a safety net so that you can come back out of this, go and get it. It's free for 13 months, it's 2.5%, and it's 25% of your turnover. And that's the first time the government have referred to turnover instead of net profit. And so I think that's important messages to get out there. So I've just put a post within the group now that if anybody does have debt issues, to contact you. I'll tag you in that, Chris.
Appreciate it.
So I think that brings us back again to the HMRC income support scheme. So as I understand it, the scheme's gone live this morning. People are being given dates from when they register. They're being given dates to actually make their application, and then it's 80% of their net profit from. Well, I'll let you say what dates from and to, and then it's backdated to March as a lump sum payment of 3 months. Now, do we think that's likely to be extended with the furlough scheme?
So we don't know. You know, I do think it's
isn't it?
that's the problem, and there's a lot of noise at the moment. And what I try and do is I try and stick to the facts. Now, here's my opinion. You know, if furlough has been extended, then you would like to think that there will be an improvement for the self-employed. But right now that we don't know that. And although furlough was extended yesterday, in a bold move by the government, it did suggest that, you know, when this current furlough period ends, the furlough will change somewhat. You know, employers are going to be asked to contribute to furlough. So, they did mention that in the government. So I want to just stick to the facts right now. At the moment, it isn't, but it's a very, what has been impressive about the government is they are listening, they are changing, you know, and they're bringing, if you think of the enormity of the task at hand that they've got right now, I think they're reacting really well to it. So again, I'm happy to, as there are developments, Dave, I'd be very happy to, you know, to come back and talk to your members. And again, if they want to follow me, I'm on First Business Rescue, Chris Worden, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
And I do bring, again, my speciality, where I focus is limited company directors. I'm here to protect and advise limited company directors and their assets, and to get them the best possible outcomes. So, you know, and I do post quite a lot on Facebook, and the feedback we get is the videos and content is quite helpful. So that's where we're at with that at the moment, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know to what extent they're going to ask employers to contribute. And they said they're going to extend the furlough up till September. They're going to ask employers to contribute from August. Again, it may well change. As you say, your main focus is direct to limited companies and debt advice. And you've had to adapt to be able to offer advice and support to many others. And I do appreciate very much the fact that you've taken the time out to come and speak to our members. You know, because there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know. You don't know. And to be fair, the government doesn't know either. And as you say, the biggest thing that's standing out from anything else is the fact that they are listening. When they announced the Bounceback loan, for example, they did acknowledge the fact that they have been in communication with taxi drivers associations. You should see the amount of letters I've sent him.
I have read a couple, Dave. Dave, can I just want to cut across you there 1 second, because you're right.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of us don't know. There are a lot of unknowns right now. But one thing I do know, and I am absolutely certain, and I have probably got 100 clients who would agree with me, is if your business has been negatively impacted by COVID-19, you're a limited company, you need to get advice early. Okay?
Yeah.
The amount of stress that this has caused business owners so far, the uncertainty, I believe, you know, that absolutely catastrophic. Everybody that we speak to here, now we've got, I think it's probably just over 30 years experience in the office. They all feel so much better for talking to us, because do you know what? We take them to doomsday. If this happened, you know, if you had to close your business down,
Yeah.
these are your options. You know, if you needed to close your business down, how could you legally shut one business down and open another business? How could you buy back your assets? If you need to do a formal debt restructure, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but you can extend, you can restructure your debts over 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's an absolute godsend to people. So getting advice early, getting the right advice from the right people is absolutely critical. And in so many unknowns, I think you've got to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And that's what we're doing right now is, you know, let's stick to what you can do, what we know you can do. And if the worst happens, this is the plan. So again, you know, I just want to hammer home that point. There are a lot of unknowns, but there are a lot of things you can control. You know, my friend in the office, you know, we talk to people about controlling the controllables. And if you've got debt, and what's really been surprising for us, and you mentioned that we had to adapt. So we took the decision. No one's been furloughed at First Business Rescue. You know, you know, the debt and insolvency industry is continued to be busy during this period. Now we're used to dealing with businesses in distress. You know, generally we'll get an inquiry. Okay, I owe HMRC 50 grand. I owe, you know, I'm struggling to pay back my funding circle loan. I've got a bailiff on my door. You know, that's what we, you know, bailiffs, CCJs. I've had a winding up petition sent to me. What do I do? My bank account's been frozen. You know, that's all normal for us. And normally these businesses are struggling, and they either need to be shut down, they need to be shut down and rise again in a Phoenix liquidation, or they need a debt restructure.
Yeah.
What we're getting now, though, is really good businesses that were absolutely thriving up until COVID-19, and their income has just been stopped.
Yeah.
You know, so we're now having to deal with good businesses that were good, solid businesses that have become distressed businesses literally overnight. So,
well, I know you meant. Well, that doesn't just affect the smaller businesses and limited companies. I mean, that even affects the big boys like the likes of Virgin and Lufthansa and Wizz Air and all the rest of them. It's big boys as well that are struggling. And it's everybody. And you mentioned within one of our chats about the software developer for Uber.
Dave, I wouldn't want to disclose any. Let's talk about the specifics on that, though. Okay, so I'll give you. We have a client here who it was a great business up until this point. Does a lot of work in the taxi industry, and overnight, his revenues have dropped, and the client has significant revenue debts. So what we're going to do for him, he's actually in the process now of applying for not a bounce back loan, a business interruption loan. Yeah. And if that does fail, or even if that does fail, he's going to look at either doing a CVA. What a CVA is, it's a procedure to rescue your business where you put all your debts into one pot and you agree to pay those debts over a 60-month period. So let's say your debts are £50,000. Let's just do these calculations. £50,000 over 60 months. You'd be able to pay them debts off around £800 a month. And at the end of it, you'd be debt free. And we've done CVAs for £1 million. There's no sort of floor or ceiling on CVAs. Another procedure that's very popular right now is a directors managed buyout. And that's where, listen, the business is insolvent. COVID-19 it's the final nail in the coffin, but they have assets. So what they can do is agree to purchase their assets pre-liquidation in a new company, and then they liquidate this business, and they liquidate with all the unsecured debts, which would include revenue, which would include business rates, which would include other unsecured debts. So there are tools available. Again, my job is to protect the director and advise the director best. So there's many, many different ways that we can help and support people at this time. And again, getting the advice early, and the advice that I give to this guy will be totally, everyone's situation is a little bit different. But if you're in debt, or you might not be in debt right now, but your business has been obliterated overnight, then listen, reach out, let's talk, and let's see how we can assist you.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't getting into specifics. I was bringing it back into the taxi industry. That's the only reason for that. Yeah,
well, we've had a number of inquiries from your industry right now, Dave, and from all parts of the taxi industry. So we're very used to this. This is not new to us. We work in your industry, and we have solutions. Listen, if you're worried, if you've got any element of doubt about if your business is going to survive, any element of doubt whatsoever in your limited company, get in touch with me. Get in touch with me. At the very, very least, I'll give you some good, actionable advice, and I'm not going to charge you. That's important. My initial advice is always free. And if you have a look at First Business Rescue on Trustpilot, don't take my word for it. I think we're the #1 business rescue company rated on Trustpilot right now, which we're very, very proud of. So
I'm just smiling to myself because I keep watching these news reports and these presenters that are interviewing people, and I laugh at myself because you can see them on film and they just stood there with the interview, and the other person interviewing is talking, and they just stood there nodding like that. I found myself doing
At least we're agreeing. At least we're agreeing, Dave.
It shows that the screen's got frozen, so that they're going like that, and I found myself doing it. So it's quite amusing. Chris, I want to wind this down a little bit now because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things coming through now. I do very much appreciate your time and taking the effort to speak to our members like this for us. Have you got any? I mean, I think the overriding message really is: if you've got difficulties, if you're having problems, get in touch. There are solutions available right now that might help and get you out of the problem area. If that doesn't work and you still find yourselves in problems and you need to debt consolidate, then get in touch, and there's things that you can advise and support them within that.
I think this is the message, okay? If you are concerned about how your business is going to pay its debts, whether that be HMRC, bank funding, any debt that you have right now, then get in touch. Yeah, I'm happy. We've got an experienced team here. It won't always be me that you speak to, but we're happy to spend 10, 15 minutes on the phone with everybody who calls or everyone messages. What I'll do, Let me just send, Dave, if I can just send you a link. Let me just send you a link. So if people want to do this anonymously, I'm just going to send this over to you. I'll just see if we can put this in our video, Dave. What I'm going to drop in there is a link. So if anybody, any limited company directors out there that want some advice on the business going forward, reach out to us. We're happy to spend 10-15 minutes. We can go through the Bounceback loan, how it works. You know, it's, although that information there is all out online, but really we want to speak to those that revenue debts, HMRC debts, creditor debts, finance debts, and we will give them a tailored solution to their business. It's it's free and it's impartial advice. You know, we'll tell you what the problem, what issues you face. We'll tell you a number of different solutions to get out of that. And I feel really passionate about this. The COVID-19 crisis, it's not just affected businesses, it's affected everybody's mental health. And I think that the problem with people's mental health, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but it needs saying, is it's uncertainty. You know, how are we going to pay our bills? What does the future hold? People just do not know where they can turn at the moment when everything's so uncertain. So if you're feeling that, if any of your members are feeling this stress and they don't know where the business is going to go, just reach out to us, because we'll tell you what could happen and how you could combat all of these things, how you could maneuver and restructure your business to ensure you survive. And you know, you, the director, gets the best possible advice. I don't want to come across hard-nosed here, but I'm here for directors. I'm here to advise them on the best way forward for them. So, yeah, and I really appreciate you inviting me on, Dave. Again, we've had a lot of inquiries over the past few weeks, and quite a few taxi operators and a couple of chauffeur hire companies have reached out to us. So I hope this has been helpful to those guys as well, and hopefully our media team will be able to brand this up for you, Dave. We'll send you a copy of the interview, and you can send it out to your members. Have you got any other questions for me? Any concerns? Anything that we can cover before we go?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything. I think the message is really, you know, the amount of emails, the amount of bulletins that are coming through from government. There are people there to sift through it for you. There are people there to advise you. I can advise you. I can steer you in the right direction. Chris, you can steer them in the right direction as well, because we have a deeper understanding of which parts are relevant and which parts aren't. And you know, we can guide them in the right directions, because obviously you deal with the finance more, we deal with the licensing more, and products and materials and things that can go in and what things they can do to protect themselves from that. So it's good to have that mutual connection and people that specialise in each field, because I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a debt advisor. You are, and that's why I asked you on, and I do, again, on behalf of our members, really appreciate you taking the time.
Dave, you've been a gent, mate. Thank you for your time. Again, if any of your members want some tailored advice that is free and it is impartial around debts, business debts, HMRC arrears, finance, any problems that you're facing financially, then First Business Rescue are here to help. So, are we ready to wrap this up, Dave? And shall we end the stream right now?
Yeah, I think we can safely do that. There's enough people seeing it. We've had a good attendance, and thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thank you very, very much, and have a great day. All the best, people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Stay safe.